like, Meatballs and all those, like Revenge of the Nerds. Those all had a ton of peephole moments, but I did not like that scene. I
Revenge
just
of the
want to get that.
Nerds had sex crimes in it too.
Yes,
Like
it
that
did.
was it's amazing how I'm not going to say how times have changed, but how people's acceptance of certain things, even in film, have changed. And it's like, at the time we all just laugh at that.
Yeah.
You really got that guy good using his girlfriend to do it. Well, we're not talking about the Revenge of the Nerds, but if anyone wants to see that, it's shockingly criminal, really, that movie, like
And that was a
really
hit.
bad.
That was a hit. You know what I mean? Like that was, I don't know. What do you think about the fight inside the car dealership?
I love the fight. You mean Jack Warden fighting
Yeah,
Garrett Graham? Oh my
that
God. So that's another scene where
brutal.
I'm flipping out because there are a couple times when a punch is thrown by Fuchs' character, and I can tell it's a stunt guy. And there
Yeah.
are other times when, well, I mean, you see Jack Warden's face in it doing this stuff. Like just, I think it was him when he hit the chair on the ceiling and fell over. Not that was a physical feat,
What a
but
great
still,
gag. Oh,
it's a stunt where you could get hurt, and just kicking around, breaking things, picking up glass, which may or may not have been his hand, but still, like, just all this stuff going. That scene is bonkers. He's very violent throughout the movie. He's
mhm.
so criminal.
I learned
Like,
how they filmed that. So what they did was they would do wide shots of the two stuntmen just beating the tar out of each other. And then so they shot that first. And then when they watched it, they realized where they had to put the two actors in.
mhm.
So the actors did some of their own stunts, of course, but they somehow edited it quite seamlessly where you could see Garrett and Jack, but then the stuntmen were also hidden pretty well, and it built to a really comical. I mean, there's flying tackles, there's chairs being broken on people.
Going
Jack
through
Warden's character
doors.
drop kicks a door. So they really do a good job of. I wish more fight scenes would do that, where you get a few good moves, you get some wide shots, but then you also get shots of the actors. They did a good job of editing that.
So
That was a good thing.
I have a ridiculous comparison to make. So today, I watched The Crow, which I hadn't seen in 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that the fights, the physical choreography and stunts, not the gunfights, the more hand to hand fights, were not as good as they were in used cars. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not ragging on The Crow. I'm just saying that the fight that we're talking about right now was better than any physical hand to hand fight overall that I saw in The Crow the very next day after watching Used Cars. My cousin agreed. This is so funny because, I mean, it has a lot of cool action in it, but it's not a big budget movie. This movie really brought it for action, I guess, is the point that I'm making.
Yeah,
Because
I
The
think
Crow is stronger on its gunplay. I almost feel like movies like The Matrix, obviously The Matrix is looking at things like Hard Boiled, but I think they're also looking at just other recent predecessors. I think they're looking at some of the scenes that we see in The Crow with the gunplay. The gunplay action is great. The
yeah,
physical,
and
the
the mood.
physical hand to hand with a goon in an alley, it's not good. It's not good.
No, I agree. Yeah, I guess Crow's more about style, right? Over the fights.
It's such an MTV movie.
Yeah.
I never remembered it that way, but it is.
I,
It was an Watching it was an interesting experience at age damn near 40
I
now.
think Terry Leonard gets a lot of that. He should get a lot of that respect because this is a guy who had been working since, let's see, 1963. He was on McClintock, El Dorado. He worked with John Wayne. He did the stunts in Planet of the Apes. This is a guy who worked his way up through the industry. And so he was in the Shootist, and then he ended up working on Apocalypse Now. He was the stunt coordinator on Apocalypse Now. He was in Vietnam for a year just blowing stuff up. I mean, this guy, so then he did 1941, but then he did Blues Brothers. He did the car gags. Oh, that maybe helps, right? Because he did a lot of the car gags on Blues Brothers, which have some of the greatest chases ever, and a lot of car smashing on that. So he came from Blues Brothers to used cars, but then this guy went on to do, let's see, 48 Hours, and then he moved on to Christine, Gremlins, Red Dawn, Starman, Cobra. Then he did, let's see, Backdraft, Showdown in Little Tokyo, yes, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Tombstone, hey now, Quick and the Dead, Die Hard with a Vengeance. He's still working on Furious 7, The Sum of All Fears, Joyride, Too Fast, Too Furious, Death Proof, Walk Hard, Faster. So he's done a lot of car movies. So I wonder, oh wow, man, he's done some huge stuff. But yeah, I wonder if I don't know, but he just knew how to fight. I think he was just that old school guy that just I don't know, because I'm telling you're right. That fight in this movie is legit. That's a great fight scene.
There are haymakers that are thrown that, at least by virtue of camera angle, seem very close to their target.
They said the stuntmen were just like beating the snot out of each other.
Okay, well maybe that's why it looked like it was so close. They're really whapping, man.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great fight, and I think Terry Leonard, though, I just think he has this gung ho attitude. I mean, he went out there with the cars. He went out there with the fights. The one gag he was most scared to do was kicking the television in, and so they had to ground him. And they gave him a special boot. And then when you watch him kick the TV, he pulls out really quickly because he didn't want to be electrocuted. That was the gag that scared him the most on this movie. He wanted to jump the train. They wouldn't let him. So I think they had these 28-year-old guys directing the movie.
We were crazy at 28 too. When you think about it, we
exactly.
were crazy.
Dude, crazy. And also Kurt Russell and the crew, they called the crew the Cocaine Kids. So you have 28-year-old director. You have the Cocaine Kids crew. Then you have Terry Leonard, who's a maniac and just got done with Apocalypse Now in Vietnam. I mean, that's a bonkers movie with the stunts. So you have, I think, this culmination of just people going, yeah, let's do it. And that's why it looks great. And it's held up. I imagine that, John. You're a crafty stunt coordinator and you're working with these crazy 28-year-olds and they're like, John, we trust you. And you're already out of your mind. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, this movie's going to get crazy. I don't know, but no one really got seriously injured. The kids fell out of the car; they were just fine. They did say though, during the stripping scene, they missed filming a stunt. There's a car that smashes to the left, and they didn't even get it on camera. But yeah, during that entire scene, I didn't hear any reports of anybody getting hurt. So it's just one of those lucky. They got lucky. Would you say they got lucky? Because those cars
with all the stuff that they did in this movie, yeah,
yeah, it seemed like just a bunch of crazy but. You know what else it is? I think these were people who were a little out of their minds, but they were also good at what they were doing. So maybe that's another reason why it wasn't too, not everybody was killed during the make of this film, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, man. I dig it. It's just another different variation of Kurt Russell too. I mean, if you think about all the movies we've covered, who is the closest to Rudy Russo?
Jack Burson when he's undercover in the massage parlor in The Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah. What's the difference between Jack Burton and Rudy? I think Rudy's more confident. Like, remember the scene in Big Trouble in Little China when Kim Cattrall's rubbing up against him, and he goes, "Stop! Like, I can't focus. Like, you're like." He's very uncomfortable.
I think that the difference is 5 years of age, and I think that slightly older Jack Burton has failed at a few things in his life or had things not work out as he thought it would, whether or not he admits it or realizes it. And so he takes slightly more care in his actions than, hot and ready 29-year-old Rudy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because he's still impulsive. He's just less impulsive. He's still a blowhard and a press forward, but it's differently, right? We're comparing to other John Carpenter movies here. Fuchs was the name of one of the characters in The Thing that Kurt Russell did the next year. Or 2 years later.
You're right. Yeah.
There's a Fuchs. And in this movie, there are in fact 3 Fuchs. I mean, was Rudy actually really lucky that none of the 3 Fuchs that he interacted with in this movie were The Thing?
I should. Oh, wow. Kurt Russell and Fuchs, they have a good history.
Spelled the same. Fucks. I'm sorry. Fuchs. I didn't mean to spell a swear. Just then. Fuchs. Fuchs.
Oh, I love. And I have another question for you. Is there any better cinematic yeller than Frank McRae in this movie? He's the mechanic in this. If you remember him, I don't know if you remember him in Last Action Hero. He plays the chief whose job it was just to scream. And he's in Loaded Weapon 1, Captain Doyle, where he screams.
When he was the high prices monster in the pirated ad,
Yeah.
I was howling. Like he had a screech like the Nazgul just spotted the ring.
Oh man.
He was so
And everyone's just looking at him, going, "What's happening?" Yeah, and
that guy brings a lot to
oh
this
yeah,
movie. I'm going to call him one of the more minor characters of a very big ensemble cast. But like, can we? He has multiple scenes where he's sleeping. There's always something ridiculous going on while he's sleeping, like a spray gun for paint, a blowtorch. He gets peed on his head by the dog when he's asleep.
yeah, and he has the
His
guitar sleeping.
his right, yeah, in his underwear.
Yeah,
And after they lose the lot, so his sleep game is strong. And Mark, you've done so many things with walking in movies. I wonder if you wouldn't one day put together a good sleep list, because like Captain Ron is a good competitor for at least one scene, but he has some really memorable sleep scenes.
I should go through this and just do a montage of pictures of his sleeping scenes. And I love that he had a great career after this. I mean, beforehand he did Rocky 2, but he went on, he did 48 Hours. Then he popped up for a little bit in Vacation. He had a minor role in Red Dawn. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember. I haven't seen that in too long.
I think he walked out and got shot. He's one of the first guys to get shot in Red. And he was in Batteries Not Included, License to Kill. But no, I mean,
Batteries Not Included. He was like the either the dishwasher or the fry line guy,
yep.
right?
Yeah. And then he was lightning. He went on to do. He played Doyle in a couple movies, which is really interesting. But no, I mean, I like the characters in this just feel. And there's that scene where he's cooking on that gross. I don't know what he's grilling.
I think that he was either
Ribs?
doing chicken or ribs because he was painting them over and over again with barbecue sauce. And I was so upset when he didn't just close the grill. He got a fire extinguisher. They're hard pressed for money, and he just fire extinguished them. All you had to do was close the grill.
Yeah, cut the oxygen off. But once again, it's just a movie with interesting characters. I mean, what did you think about the subplot involving the daughter? I mean, that's very underwritten, and I think Debbie Harmon probably wasn't given the best role, especially at the end of the car. They were kind of making fun of. I mean, she just sort of plays the stock daughter who comes into town, but I think she makes what she has likable.
Good laughs along the way, but she is the one character that I specifically feel badly for.
Yeah.
Not throughout the whole thing, but like it's almost like she breaks even. She hardly comes out a winner in my eyes at the end because she's constantly being lied to, and even when she's happy, you know she's being lied to.
Mm-hmm.
Then she discovers what's happening. The thing with the ticket when they're out at the Mexican restaurant, like I don't. Then she's the one who's made to look a fool, even though it forwards the plot with dubbing her ad after she seems troll. She is just the scapegoat of all worst things that can happen to someone in this.
Yeah.
She plays a good character. You see her introduction in the car lot when they thought incorrectly that she was from the Consumer Protection Agency. Wonderful scene. Very strong introduction to a character. We know it's really the daughter, probably. Right, we know that's why she's asking for the owner. But that was a great scene. And then after that, she does well with what she has. But right, like she just becomes almost like a writing tool.
Yeah, I don't like it when movies
scene.
do that. Like you just take all the agency out of it.
She's a plot device after that, and it started so strong. And again, I'm not disappointed with it, though. I'm not saying it's a bad character. I'm not saying that at all. And the things that play around her don't ill affect my enjoyment of the movie. It keeps it going well. But again, yeah, like I do realize that I could have felt much better for them after the judge measures and the license plate pops out of the busted car so that it hits the appropriate length of 5,280 feet of cars. And then she talks to Kurt Russell and they have their last lines. It didn't hit me as much. The warmth of it didn't hit me as much because their journey spent too little time with honesty and alliance. I feel like they needed 10 or 20 more minutes of honesty and alliance in the movie to balance at the end after all of the lies.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
It
that
doesn't.
makes sense.
No, I'm with you, and I don't know, and that's what's tough too, John. Can you imagine